Yes.
Thank you, sir. Dot, just before the break, we were talking about your diagnosis of having a choriocarcinoma and the surgery and chemotherapy you had. The chemotherapy continued for 3 years, and by this time it was also being done in Charing Cross Hospital.
Yes.
And throughout that time, you received fairly regular blood transfusions.
Yes.
At some point in the 3 years at Charing Cross Hospital, you were told you'd contracted hepatitis B.
I was, the doctor just came and he said, "You have to go beside Bob. You have hepatitis B." Well, I didn't know nothing about it. But they haven't given me it from somewhere else. Well, that was it.
And you were put in a ward on your own, in a room on the ward on your own. And how did that make you feel to discover that you'd contracted hepatitis B?
Well, having an infectious disease, when we've got a little girl at home, frightened me. I was so upset, so frightened, and nobody would tell me everything. Nobody.
You were monitored for a few years, and your levels remained steady.
Yes.
And over time, the monitoring changed from weekly to fortnightly to monthly.
Yes.
And then in the mid-80s, you were told you didn't need to be monitored any further.
I was, yes.
And at this point, you had not been given any treatment for the hepatitis B.
Nothing.
We then go forwards to 1999, and you started having some bowel problems. And you're nodding.
Yes.
And the consultant noticed red spots on your body,
all over the place.
which he said were from severe liver damage. You ended up on a ward which was mixed sex.
Yes, I remember.
And you've said it was terrifying.
It was. There was drug habits, alcoholics. One night I ran their bag and threw me and said, "Please get me out of here." The man next door was reeling all over, swearing, shouting. That's no place to stay when you're ill.
And you were told in September or October 1999 that your liver was very seriously damaged.
I was even more frightening.
And you went on to the waiting list for a transplant in January 2000.
No, I went on the list at Christmas time, the year before.
99.
1999. And wonderful doctors, wonderful. March
20.
2020, I got the call.
And you had the transplant in March 2000.
I said,
What were your feelings about having the transplant?
no choice, life or death. I just had to live. I had a child at home who my parents had brought up, really. And I needed to be with her. I was frightened, and I never knew if the transplant would work.
Sorry, I missed that.
She said she never knew if the transplant would work, so that made her feel a lot worse.
But it did. You've described in your statement that the transplant was life-changing and your health was very different after it.
Very.
Can you tell us in what way your health changed?
I've always been a very active person. And it sort of frustrated me because I couldn't do everything I wanted to. And I was frightened if I did do too much, it would affect my liver. That would be it. So, but you have to get on with it. I've been given a chance, I'm taking it. I did.
And after the transplant, you then received lamivudine, medication for the hepatitis B.
I did.
But after 6 years, that was changed to tenofovir
It was.
because the lamivudine was causing damage to your kidneys.
Yes.
And you've had to have stents fitted in your left kidney on 3 occasions. And the right kidney had already been damaged by the radiotherapy and chemotherapy.
It had.
And you continue, I think, to have liver checks every 6 months. And then you developed the tongue cancer 2 years ago. Has there been any discussion with your treating clinicians about any connection between the tongue cancer and the hepatitis B?
Well, I've never asked because they were trying their best to get me better. And it just seemed very mean of me to start saying, is this Hep B? Because if it is, I want evidence. But I do think my kidneys have been affected by it. Whether this has, I don't know.
And you've also tried to obtain your medical records, but Charing Cross Hospital have said they don't have any for you.
Well, no record has never been there, which is strange, because every 6 months I send a urine sample there to check my cholangiocarcinoma hasn't come back.
Thank you. Linda, you had a heart operation in April 1979, and it was a closed mitral valvotomy.
Yes,
And you needed a transfusion during the operation.
yes I did.
How did you come to find out that you had contracted hepatitis B?
That dear. I had a back operation done a lot later on, and I didn't know at the time, but Mr. Milner took blood samples and he sent it off for apparently hepatitis B. And the way I found out was I got a letter in the post. I didn't even know he'd done it for hepatitis B. I didn't know what hepatitis B was.
And that was September 2017,
Yes.
so 38 years later.
Yes.
If we can just put the letter up that went to your GP, just so we can see what was said. It's WITN 2641003, please. And it's page 3. And we see in the middle of the letter, the main body of the letter, just to let you know that I've received the blood results back from Linda's blood tests that were performed when she came to see me in clinic on the 11th of September. To my surprise, she had positive results for hepatitis B surface antigen, hepatitis B core antibody, and hepatitis B E antibody. The hepatitis B core IgM antibody, the hepatitis B E antigen, and the hepatitis C antibodies were not detected. She also had no evidence of HIV antibody or antigen. Our laboratory told me that the results are consistent with chronic hepatitis B infection, but that we need to perform confirmatory tests. So lots of medical language, but indicating that you had chronic hepatitis B. And then this, interestingly enough, Linda's Usinese, which is the urea and electrolytes, full blood count, liver function test, bone chemistry and vitamin D levels were all largely normal, although her urea was slightly raised at 8.1. And there's then a recommendation for further tests to be undertaken. The letter that you received from the consultant, obviously that was to your GP, but you received a letter, came as a complete surprise to you. Is that right?
Yes, yes.
You were then referred, you went to see your GP, and then you were referred to a hepatologist.
Yes, that's right.
And what were you told about the hepatitis B by them?
Not a great deal that somebody like me could understand. It's like that, you don't really understand it, but it just meant that I would have to have tests done every 6 months, scans on my liver and my kidneys. So that's what I do every 6 months. I have follow-ups.
And I think you've said in your statement that you were told that it wasn't affecting the liver, but that it could do at a later stage.
What it is doing now, apparently I have cysts on my liver, 2 cysts on my liver, and at first I thought I had a blockage in my kidney, but on the last scan they did, they said it wasn't a blockage, it's cysts as well.
Just staying in the sort of 2017, when those first appointments with a hepatologist, what were you advised to do in relation to sort of precautions to take? Were you advised about anything in relation to contraceptions or toothbrushes or anything of that sort?
No, nothing. Nothing.
And what understanding were you given about the long-term impact of the hepatitis B?
It wasn't supposed to affect you. You were supposed to be okay, but apparently you're not, are you? Because all of a sudden there's these cysts appearing, which are they connected? Because nobody's told me. Nobody's actually said to me, Linda, you've got these cysts because of your hepatitis B. It's just you've got the cysts and you've got the cysts on your kidneys, but no reason why them, are there.
And at the initial stage of when you were being told about the hepatitis B, what was the message? That it was okay?
Yeah, you could live with it. You can live with it. You can't, but according to them, because they haven't got it, it's all right because I haven't got it, but you can live with it. It's fine.
And just thinking about the time between the heart operation in 1979 and the diagnosis in 2017, what's your physical health been like?
Normal, I would say. I try and keep active as I can. I'm on a lot of tablets for my backs now and everything, but yeah, I try and keep active.
In your statement, you've talked about having fatigue and aches and pains that are fairly unexplained.
Yeah.
What can you tell us about those?
They're just that the pains and tiredness is an awful thing. But people go, well, you are 70, Linda. You're going to get tired. You are 65 whenever. You say, well, I'm tired. Well, you're going to get tired because you're old.
And when you were younger, post-heart operation, were you feeling that fatigue then as well?
Yeah, and breathlessness and everything, yeah.
And in 1988, you were investigated for some aches and pains, and they said at that point it was all psychological.
Yep.
June 1998, you were seen by the cardiologists because you had unexplained tiredness and weight loss. Is that right?
Yes, that's right.
And 1996, you saw a haematologist because you had some unexplained bruising.
Yep.
But again, nothing was found.
Nothing, no.
So would it be fair that since 1979 until now, there has been an ongoing difficulty with fatigue?
Yes, yes.
And you've said in your statement as well that you've been very worried about infecting others.
That's right.
Can you tell us anything about that? How you feel?
How you feel? You feel like I wonder how many times I've cut myself and somebody's come to help me. Have I infected that person? I've had quite a few operations after the heart operation. Have I infected anybody in theatre? Just you don't know. Have you passed? I couldn't have gone and given blood, but often I did think about giving blood. But at least I know that they wouldn't have taken the blood, and probably I would have found out sooner. Yes. If I'd have gone and given blood, I might have found out sooner. But it's just, I don't know, hard, very hard.
Because there was 38 years where you didn't know that you were
no.
infected.
Yeah.
And in your statement, you say that you're very worried about what happened in those years.
Very much so, very much so. Yeah, as I say, it's the operations that you've had that nobody would have known about. I've had my toes done and, you know, all sorts of silly things, hysterectomy. Did I have that done afterwards? Yeah, you know, stuff like that you just wonder how many more people have you passed it on to. You know, does it just go on in a vicious circle? Yes, it's hepatitis B, but it's not nice. It's really not nice.
You've continued to have follow-up at the hepatology clinic every 6 months.
Mm-hmm.
And
Yes,
you've just said now that there are cysts on the liver and on the kidneys.
that's right.
Throughout that time that you've been monitored, what have the hepatitis B levels been doing?
Reasonably staying the same, yes. They're quite pleased with the levels as far as I know. You don't get to see anybody. You don't get to talk to a doctor. You don't actually, you know, you can't talk to a doctor and say, what is this? You just get an appointment, you go get your scan done, and then that scan gets sent back to whoever, but whoever gets the scan doesn't ring you.
So how do you find out the information from your scan?
Actually, the lady that did my scan told me. She was really chatty about it, and she said that they said before they thought you had a blockage in your kidney, but I'm 99% certain that it's cyst that's growing on your kidney. So that's how I found out.
And have you had a discussion at all with the clinicians about what those cysts mean?
No, they just say it's nothing to worry about.
In terms of understanding your infection, you asked for further information to be sought to understand the connection between your infection and the transfusion that you were given.
Yeah.
Is that right?
Yes.
And I want to just look at some of the documents that deal with that. If we could go to WITN 2641011, and it's page 2, please. It's a letter from the gastroenterologist to the haematologist at Leeds General Infirmary, and it simply says this: I write regarding the above lady. She's presented with the hepatology services here in Bradford with abnormal LFTs and has gone on to have a liver screen which has suggested she has hepatitis B virus. That's not quite how it happened, is it, Linda?
No, it's not.
She doesn't have any clear risk factors for contracting this other than having a blood transfusion in 1979 at Leeds General Infirmary when she had a valvuloplasty for mitral stenosis. The haematologist here in Bradford, Dr. Adrian Williams, who I believe is the transfusion lead, has suggested that I get in touch with you to see if we can investigate this matter a little further. Mrs. Kitson is keen to be kept informed of any investigation into whether her hepatitis B could have been contracted from the blood transfusion she received at this time. You were wanting to track the transfusion you'd received and your hepatitis B, is that right?
Yes, that's right.
The registrar was then told to contact the NHS Blood and Transplant, and then we have a letter from the specialist nurse asking for it to be followed up. WITN 2641014, please. And again, it's page 2. Just the last paragraph. It's a letter to you. I've spoken to the doctor that you saw and he's confirmed that he remains investigating LGI and your blood transfusion and will see you back in clinic in 6 months' time. After that letter, did you hear anything further about any investigations in relation to the transfusion you'd received?
No, nothing.
Have you had any further discussion with anyone about what work they're doing to trace the transfusion?
No, nothing at all.
Thank you. I want to move to a more thematic discussion, if I may, with the three of you. All of you have discussed periods of physical ill health after receiving your transfusions or as an ongoing issue. What discussions have you had with doctors about the connection between those bouts of ill health, the ongoing fatigue for two of you, and your hepatitis B?
Nothing. No. My daughter's often said, should you never have had a liver scan, and I've just never been offered anything like that. And it's always just been put down to, you take tramadol for a spine condition. I have osteoporosis, I have osteoarthritis, and it's always a medication that's put down to tiredness, and maybe you need to have a break, but never anything about hepatitis B.
I made myself an appointment with an infectious diseases consultant. And when I asked me why I told him what's happening for me, what will happen, and it was very good and told me more or less what I'm able to know. But life was difficult because if a little scratch or graze on me or everyone else, I'm covering it up straight away. But so that I never passed it on. I felt like a leper at times. But my family got used to it. And my daughter's little friend was, Auntie, but I've got a scratch. Can't see it, but put them on.
You described feeling like a leper sometimes, and both Linda and Fiona, you both nodded. Do you want to tell us more about that?
It's just people actually, when they find out, because there's not a lot of education about hepatitis B, they just presume that you're either taking drugs or you're a prostitute.
Yeah.
You're either one or the other. You just can't be a family, or a mistake. You're either, I didn't know you took drugs, Linda. Well, I don't, love. No, I'm sorry. I don't like to disappoint you, but I don't take drugs. It's not my fault I've got this disease. No.
And because I did find out years ago, and again, every liver complaint was down to to AIDS or HIV. I was just so scared to even talk about it to anybody. And like Linda was saying, it was just constant. I still, to this day, I could bring out my bag. I've always got a pack of plasters with me because I'm terrified in case I get a little scratch or anything. Yeah.
And what's the effect of that hepatitis B, being on your mental well-being?
It hasn't helped at all.
No, it doesn't.
No, it's just another load to bear because you just, yeah, you agree. Yeah.
Sorry, I didn't catch that.
You said it's a good way to describe it.
Another load to bear.
And personally speaking, I don't know about these two, but I feel that hepatitis B is put to the bottom of the pile.
Yeah.
We're under HIV, we're under Hep C, we're there. We're not anybody. When it's on the telly, it's always HIV and Hep C that's mentioned. B is never mentioned. And I don't understand why, because people are suffering with it. You know, we're suffering. And can I go back to one point about, I never knew that there was tablets. Nobody's ever said to me, there is medication you can take for it. I know I'm skipping back to something, but I've just remembered.
It's important.
So I didn't even know that you could take tablets for it. I don't know whether I don't need to take them, but it's still important that I didn't know until somebody mentioned it earlier on.
And Fiona, you're nodding to that.
Yeah, I mean, I was just saying at the break, I can't believe that there could have been counselling available. 'Cause I feel my life would have been a lot more different, just in terms of lifestyle and knowing it is okay to meet. I mean, I'm just constantly being asked why I've never moved on in a relationship, and you don't want to explain to anybody, so, but again, at the time, it was a big taboo, and I thought, I can't tell anybody.
And you're reflecting there on the lack of psychological support
Yeah,
or
yeah.
even information, perhaps?
Yeah, yeah. Everything was all, you're lucky you're still here, and that was all you ever got. So.
And that question of being lucky, is that something, Linda and Dot, that you also
I've been
heard?
told the same. Lucky. I don't think so. Maybe lucky that I have a liver transplant. Lucky that I've got hep B.
I know.
Why? That ain't lucky. It's very, very unfortunate. All that's changed. It was probably there one way. I'm just sober a bit, and I have to get on with it. Otherwise, the baby cruise. And that's not me. That's not me.
Yeah, am I lucky that somebody didn't do the job right
Yeah.
and didn't bother to look and check everything and, oh, it's okay? Is that why they mean you're lucky you're alive? No. I'm lucky that somebody should have done the job right in the first place. And why, when I had my heart operation done in 1979, and I go back every year for checkups, does nobody ever think then, 2 years later, oh, maybe this lady needs a blood test because it was 79. It was when the infected blood was coming through. I've been going to the LGI since 1979 every year, and nobody ever thought about doing a blood test on me. I could have known years ago, but it's all down to, well, it's not my fault. It's not me. No.
And since you've all been diagnosed, none of you have received psychological support in relation to the hepatitis B?
No.
Or any offer of psychological support in relation to hepatitis B?
No.
No.
We picked up, Fiona, with you about insurance and the costs of insurance. Is that an experience, Linda and Dot, that you've had as well?
Well, I can't get insurance anyway. It's very difficult for me to get insurance because I've got a heart condition, and God forbid I might drop dead soon. You know, like you could get run over by a bus, but because I've got a heart condition, I can't get insurance. So it's really is difficult. Now on top of that, I've got Hep B as well, so I suppose no. Mm-hmm. and I'm old.
I bought a life insurance, but I've done it with a police officer in his time. They took out travel insurance then, and they're very good, and I still use them. A bit more expensive, but at least I can go places. So I'm fortunate in that way.
And as hepatitis B sufferers, you're ineligible for the financial assistance schemes that the inquiry has spoken about in relation to HIV and hepatitis C. What impact has that had on you?
Quite demoralising, actually. I never really ever thought about financial impact at all, or I always did make a joke that if it ever did come to fruition, somebody would inherit it, because I wouldn't be here to tell the tale. But it is a bit demoralising, because just like Linda said, it makes you feel like it wasn't that important what's happened to you. So, yeah.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah.
Dot, do you want to add anything on that? Linda, anything else you want to add to that? No.
I've never gone down the route of looking into help or anything.
No.
I just, like it's supposed to be, you could just get on with it.
Exactly, we have to get on with it.
Yeah.
What else we have got is ours to live, even though it's very difficult sometimes. over here and telling our stories, aren't we?
I don't know whether I'm allowed to say, but when Doc was in London, I was travelling from Nottingham to London on a regular basis, and never ever was anybody ever come up and say, you can apply for this or you can apply for that. It was all out of our own pocket all the time.
So those are the questions I have for the panel. I don't know if you have any questions you'd like to ask them.
Well, just this. Two of you had the initial transfusion, most probably, which caused your hepatitis B, at round about the time of childbirth or associated with childbirth. Each of you has described being very tired, and you've described how clinicians and health professionals have dealt with that over the years. So I'm going to ask you, do you think this is particularly because you happen to be women? Because you've been told it's because you've got a child. You've been told it's because of the menopause. It's been told because it's your age. Is there something about being women that you think is reflected in this, or do you think it just happens to be what the doctor would say to anyone? You've got children, you're going to be tired. That may be said more to a woman than a man.
I can't imagine them saying it to Peter. No, no, I can't imagine them saying. No, I think it's because you're women. Yeah, definitely. That's my opinion anyway. What about you?
I've never even thought about it that way until you've just stated all the different things and thought, yeah, it possibly could be.
I have spoken to doctors about it, but they seem to say, well, that's very well at the moment. See what you like in 2 weeks. You may as well just go home and sort yourself out. That's what happened.
I didn't quite catch that.
When she's been to the doctors, when she's felt tired and not very well, they just said, go home, you know, sort it out yourself, come back in a fortnight.
Yes.
I thought a lot of the times they haven't known what it was that was wrong with her.
That's all that I ask.
Linda, is there anything else you would like to say?
What was it? We made it know about. I can't remember now. Yeah, I think we've mentioned that now, haven't we? Yeah, we've mentioned that. No, I don't think so. I just don't like being at the bottom of the pile. I'd like us all to be equal. We're all in this together. HIV, C and B are all affected. We shouldn't be at the bottom of the pile. I feel really, really dirty. I can go, if I'm dirty for running outside, I can go get a shower. I cannot get rid of this blood. It's there to stay till I die. And I feel dirty, and I just don't like being put at the bottom of the pile. I know it's not as bad as Hep C, and I know it's not as bad as HIV, but it's still bad to me. And I don't like being put at the bottom of the pile. I want to be on an equal footing. So that's...
I didn't catch that, Dot, sorry.
It is life-changing.
It is life-changing, yes. It is. It's something that you've gone from being a normal person to all of a sudden you've got this rotten disease inside of you, and it changes your life. It really does change your life, you know. And it's not fair. We didn't ask for it, and it's somebody's incompetent, and somebody should be made to answer. Somebody should be made to say it was me, it was my fault, and I'm sorry. But he's not got or she's not got it, so it doesn't matter. And you're only hepatitis B. Don't worry about it. I'm getting on my soapbox, sorry. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I'm sorry.
You don't need to apologise.
I'm sorry, but
It's your chance to say what you really think.
yeah, well,
And it's important to hear what you really think.
I do think that we're put to the bomb. As I say, if it's mentioned on TV about the hearing, they'll mention HIV, they'll mention hepatitis C, but they'll never, ever, hardly mention B. And it's a disease. It should be. We should be all together. Definitely.
Dot, is there anything you'd like to add? Is there anything else you'd like to add?
About that move, what I would like to say is a massive thank you to everyone and all the team for working so hard for so long to get us here. And now our voices getting heard at long last, whether it is too late for a lot of people, but we're here. We're fighting our corner and we're given that chance to do that. So thank you to everybody. Thank you.
Totally agree.
Fiona?
I was
Yeah.
just going to add to what Linda had said as well about feeling like the bottom of the heap and you don't matter. I've still got the stigma. I feel I've still got the. I can't clear it out of my head now. So much as hepatitis C, I do agree, was very serious. This has still impacted on me in a bigger scale.
Well, can I thank you all? But let me start by thanking you, Trish, for being here to support Linda. Thank you, Tony, for being here to support Dot and to interpret, as you have done on occasions. The fact that you had to interpret, but Dot is here to give her evidence. The difficulties of giving evidence are plain to all of us who've done it and seen it. They may not be appreciated by all, but I do believe it is never easy to give evidence, and perhaps it's a timely reminder that we took a slight delay this morning, because it isn't easy. And I want to really say how much I admire your courage in being here to say to everyone what is plainly deeply personal, and a chance to say what you really feel about what has happened to you. It's very valuable. Thank you very much indeed.
So
Now, you're free to stay or go. If you stay, you'll have to wait till 2 o'clock when we have our next witness, Sally Davis, if she's well enough to be here.
I've had a message to say she is well enough and she's will be joining us at 2.
Yes, it's one of the reasons that she was here put to this afternoon, because she needs perhaps the morning. So you're very welcome to stay if you wish. You're absolutely free to go. Thank you once again. It'll be, of course, 2 o'clock that we start again.